Okay, welcome. Welcome to Dr. Teach Me to Parent. Glad you're with us again today, and we have a good program for you. Very interesting program, and one that's really critical, to the American family. Today we're going to talk about pornography in the family. Russell Willingham is with us, who is an expert in this topic, treats people for pornography addiction and other forms of addiction, and we're going to have a little conversation today about pornography in the family, in the home. So if that's an issue for you, make sure you stay with us throughout the whole program. If you know somebody that this is an issue that maybe it would be helpful to them, give them a call now and have them tune in to CentralValleyTalk.com and pick up the program as we move along on our topic this morning. Now, here we are just about looking at the issue of pornography, but there's a little quote that I'd like to give you to kind of put into context, and it will kind of serve as a framework for our discussion today. Here's the quote. It says this: when you meet temptation, turn right. And it's kind of a double play on the word there, turn right. You want to do the right thing, obviously. That's what we're really looking at. Not necessarily turn right in a physical sense. Turn away is maybe the better word, but turn and do the right thing. And the right thing is to pass. The right thing is to say no thanks. The right thing is to say no way. So think of that quote when you're in any kind of temptation, but particularly that temptation to become involved in pornography, turn right. Okay? Think of it in that sense. Do the right thing. You know what the right thing is, and do the right thing. Okay? Now, we're going to turn to our guest, Russell Willingham. Russell, you have spent quite a few years talking to, treating, helping people deal with this issue of pornography in their life. How many years have you done that?
I've been doing this full time for about 26 years.
You ought to know a little bit about it.
A little bit.
26 years. So you're the expert on it this morning, okay? And we'll have a little bit of a conversation on that issue. But before we do that, just who's Russell? How are you raised, and how does that kind of lead to you being in this kind of work?
Well, like so many people, I was raised in I would say a typical family, but if by a typical we mean dysfunctional, then yes.
Oh, that's becoming more and more typical, actually.
Yeah, unfortunately. But there was alcoholism and other issues in my family growing up, and that impacted me. Divorce in my family, and there was a lot of pain and struggle, and I actually, kind of out of the pain and struggle of that, I stumbled onto pornography myself when I was about 7 years old.
7 years old.
And I found it in a field walking home from school.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of got the ball rolling for me personally.
That's not too uncommon, is it?
It's not.
I mean, for young children to stumble on it.
Right.
It isn't something they seek out, obviously. They don't know what it is and all the rest. But it's just something that comes into their life through some kind of an error or mistake, or, as you say, you just stumbled upon it in the field, huh?
Yep. So that was a long time ago, back when it was in magazines.
That's right.
Now it's online.
Yeah. So what did you do with that magazine?
Well, I didn't keep it or anything, but I saw it. I was mesmerized by it. But the thing that was so significant about that experience was not that I saw, pictures of naked women, but that for me, seeing that, it grabbed hold of something in my soul, because I felt such a distance, such a detachment from my own mother, who was an alcoholic, who had mental illness and emotional problems, and somehow in my little 7-year-old brain, I associated that with attachment and connection and nurture. And that really set the stage for some big stuff in my life.
So it attracted you to that?
Very much.
I mean, as like a source of interest or comfort or
well, really,
intrigue?
All of the above. Uh-huh. It became a source of attachment and bonding. Yeah. Almost a source of maternal connection for me. And so when you take your sexuality and you fuse that with your God-given need for parental nurture and attachment, you've got a pretty powerful combination there.
You said something which I think is very straightforward and very profound. There's a need for attachment. Mm-hmm. So you're going to find attachment somewhere.
That's right.
And somehow you're going to find that. So maybe something that comes in your life at a critical time when you really were feeling lonely, feeling unappreciated, detached, lonely. Something comes in and there you are.
Yep.
You just kind of take that on as a possession almost. It's something that's yours.
it fills a hole.
Is that right? Yeah.
Very much.
And you think that's the issue of pornography? You think that's maybe one way
Yeah.
that people become interested in pornography and then addicted to it? It's that idea that they can be attached to somebody, and when they are in a state of detachment themselves.
Right. It's more than just somebody is perverted or they
Yeah.
like looking at naked people or sexual acts. It touches at an emotional level too.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, that's the emotional level. When you feel lonely, you feel unappreciated, you don't feel like you're part of anything, you're not bonded, you know, to a mother, to a father, to a family, to whoever.
Right.
So you're looking for that. Basically, emotionally, you're looking for. You don't know that, but you're
And every
emotionally
child
looking
is.
for somebody to come into your life and kind of fill that void and kind of make life part of a whole.
Yeah, very much. Very much.
And there you are. And it comes out visually.
Especially for males.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, males are much more visually oriented,
Right.
aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. And women are a little bit more touch related, touch oriented, so that they relate to the world a little bit more by touch.
Right.
We relate a little bit more to the world by vision, by visual cues.
I think that's true. Yeah.
You think that's one of the reasons why men are much more interested in pornography, much more attached to pornography?
Well, I think male
It's
and
a
female
visual world.
Male and female brains are different. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but there are differences. I mean, research has indicated that the male brain responds to images, for instance, of women in bikinis in ways that are different than how women respond.
Sure.
Part of the brain that responds to hunger, for instance, is activated. That's not the case in the experience of women.
Yeah. So let's back up just a minute and give us a kind of a description of really what is pornography when we're talking about what it is and perhaps what it is not. Everybody argues over that. This is pornography, this is not pornography. The courts are a little different points of view on that. Individuals, women might see it differently than men. Give us a little understanding of pornography, what it is.
Well, you're right. There's been quibbling for years about what defines pornography.
That's right.
What is obscenity, etc. Some of that I will acknowledge is in the eye of the beholder, but I think any kind of nude or sensual or sexual pictures or depictions that stimulate sexual arousal would be pornography for that person. Sometimes that can be obviously hardcore pornography, or it can even be softcore or suggestive, depending on that individual.
Is it always visual?
No. Sometimes pornography can be literature. There are even, you might say, pornographic sounds, sounds of sex or sounds of lovemaking or suggestive sounds or words. So it really covers a broad spectrum.
So if a person is attached to pornography and addicted to it, it might be all those combined, or it might be more of the sound, might be more of the visual, might be more of the storyline that goes with it. You know, kind of a description, if you will.
Exactly.
What is most common?
Most common is, as for men in particular, is visual pornography.
It's
like
just the visual.
pictures or videos. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's a touchy issue. At some point, it becomes illegal.
Right.
And at some point, it's legal. I hate to say that pornography is legal, but it is. But at some point, it's illegal. What's the line?
The line is whether it's child pornography or not.
I see.
That's what makes it legal or illegal.
Now, what's that line? What's a child?
Well, a child is legally anyone under the age of 18.
Under the age of 18.
Yeah.
So 18 and over, legal.
Right. By the law.
17 and under, illegal.
Exactly.
But the issue is, how do you know? You're looking at a video, you're looking at a magazine picture, as you commented, you're looking at some kind of a video or just a portrayal. How do you know somebody's 18? How do you know somebody's 19?
Sometimes it's hard to tell, but there is a lot of child pornography that's obviously child pornography.
Oh, there's child, there's 6, 7, 4-year-old kids.
Exactly.
Sure, oh yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's becoming a bigger and bigger issue.
In what way?
Well, people who start out with adult pornography, oftentimes because they do become addicted to that, they want something with a bigger kick, more of a thrill, and they move down the progression, so to speak, to child pornography or pornography that's more violent.
You say down the progression, and we usually say up the progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, either way, you want to look at it, right?
Right.
But that's a very important point, because that's what addiction is.
Exactly.
It's that you become accustomed to something,
Right.
and then you want more, or you need more of that to give that same emotional arousal that you spoke about. And if you don't have that emotional arousal, it just fades away.
Right.
But it's that emotional arousal that you get addicted to. Is that true?
Exactly.
Or do you get addicted to the visual cue, the pornography itself, or is it the arousal, the high?
Well, there's a fascinating science behind this whole thing, as far as what happens in brain chemistry regarding pornography, as you probably know.
Yeah, tell us.
Well, the especially the male brain, but female brain too, responds to sexual imagery almost like a drug addict responds to the drugs, except we manufacture the drugs in our own brain. Drugs like dopamine and norepinephrine and certain antidepressants and anti-anxiety properties are released in the brain itself.
Right.
As we see pornography, we create our own high, and we become addicted to that high.
So you have things going. You're looking at pornography over here, but in your brain you have this active process going on.
Precisely.
It's very active. So
Right.
it's not just kind of a passive brain, taking a picture like a photographer.
Right.
But that brain is working. It's active.
And if a certain type of pornography doesn't trigger that neurochemical response anymore, then a person will move on to something else.
That's when you need something different,
Right.
bigger, stronger, more intense,
Right.
more visual, more bright color,
Right.
Whatever. That would give you that greater impact, so
Right.
that the brain now produces that chemical of anti-anxiety, if you will, or anti-depression,
Exactly.
if you will. There's been a theory about this, that pornography is really an antidepressant drug. It's something, if you're depressed, you're going to look at pornography, you're going to get an arousal, you're going to get a high, you're going to get an energy level for that. So therefore, it cures your depression for the moment,
Yeah.
or for a period of time. Tell us about that.
Well, and I'll just say that, especially being a follower of Christ, I believe that God created sexuality to be a place of refuge and security and connection. It's supposed to create a sense of well-being and fulfillment in marriage, but when it's taken out of that context, it still has that same power, but it works against us. So, of course, feelings of dopamine are going to be released. Oxytocin is going to be released in the system. What would normally bond a couple together now just bonds somebody with a pornographic image or a fetish or some kind of compulsive experience. So it's the same process, but now it's working negatively against the individual.
So rather than bonding to a partner,
Right.
in a relationship, you now bond to some object,
Precisely.
to an image.
Or a mood-altering experience.
Yeah.
We actually become attached to something impersonal, but the dynamics are identical.
So, is there a way out of this?
Well, thankfully there is,
Is there a way out of this?
but we have to take a good hard look at why we got involved in that in the beginning, and we have to start looking at the real issue. What I've learned in working with people is that pornography or any other kind of sexually addictive behavior is not really about sex. It's an intimacy disorder. It's a relational disorder. This man, this woman doesn't know how to be relational. They've substituted something else. And obviously they have to stop that behavior, but they have to learn how to be relational, maybe for the first time in their lives.
I see. So there is an absent here. There's an absence of relational skills.
Exactly.
Relational
Well
connection.
Right.
A person with whom you can relate. And when that's missing, you're vulnerable. Is that what you're saying?
Right,
You're
right.
vulnerable for a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
I mean, not just pornography. You're vulnerable for all kinds of experiences that give arousal.
Right, right.
And maybe that's the reason why people become unfaithful, why we become various kind of, we call them extramarital affairs. I mean, is that the sought? We're seeking that kind of experience.
Well, we were created for a relationship. We're engineered for that. And like you said, we're going to find it somehow. We're going to get it somehow, either healthy or unhealthy ways.
And then when it's unhealthy, everybody gets hurt.
Oh boy, yeah,
Everybody gets hurt.
yeah.
And you must have stories and stories upon people being hurt.
Really tragic stories, but also really good stories of people who have gone down that road, but have stopped midstream and said, I can't do this anymore, or I don't want to do this anymore, or I've been arrested, or I've been exposed, or my wife's threatened to leave me. And then they turn around, and pretty cool things happen in people's lives.
It's like my quote, when you face temptation, turn right. Do the right thing. Get into a right world. Get out of that muck, out of that mire that you're in.
Well, and I'll just say the people who struggle in this area, they've tried to do that many, many times. They've tried to say no. They've tried to divert their attention, or what I call whistling in the dark approaches, like, well, this is not a big problem, or I'll just ignore it. But even the temptation itself is speaking about the deeper need under the surface that they're really not paying attention to.
Yeah.
So that takes some effort for them to find out what that is.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break here, and maybe that's a good point to come back on. Really, what is it that drives this? What is that within a person that's missing? That kind of makes them vulnerable. Now, everybody that has a kind of a missing link, so to speak, does not get into pornography.
Right.
Many do, many do not. So what's the difference? When you have something that you're seeking, you don't have, and like you said, the bond or a connection, why pornography? Why not something else? So let's come back on our break and talk about that, shall we?
Okay.
Okay. Get a cup of coffee, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
When I set foot on the campus to come visit it, I was struck by how open and how welcoming the students and the professors were. Coming to Gordon was like coming home.
I think intentional community is what Jesus modeled with his disciples, and Gordon has really fostered a good place for intentional community to happen.
Gordon is a place where you can meet people from all over the world and hear their stories. I meet a lot of different people who are shaping who I am today.
Gordon seeks to graduate men and women of character, of leadership, and the world is the place where Gordon students belong.
Choosing to go to Gordon was, I think, one of the best decisions I've made in my life. I expect to be changed.
When you need a dentist who has a passion for superior aesthetics and comfort, you need Dr. Christopher Wong with Cedar North Dental. Call 559-432-4948 or visit cedarnorthdental.com.
Hey!
China's close the club.
Tanya, come here.
At Boys and Girls Clubs, it's not just about trying new things.
Kitchen in my hometown.
It's not about learning the right steps.
4,
Or making contact.
5, 6, 7, 8.
It's not about exploring the future. It's about helping them build it. It's about taking steps to greatness. About making a connection.
It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes.
It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about proving every kid and It's about people in our clubs who bring out the greatness in every kid who enters our doors. It's not just about being on stage. It's about walking across it. Great futures start here, and here, and here.
Sat7 is a Christian media network that uses uncensored satellite television to broadcast across the Middle East and North Africa, and is also available globally online.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Okay, welcome back, and glad you're joining us today on our general topic of pornography. But what are the issues that drive someone into pornography, and where then pornography becomes a ruling factor in their life, a controlling, a dominating factor in their life? We're talking with Russell Willingham today, and he's the expert in the area of pornography. He treats people with a pornography addiction here in Fresno, and has an organization called Creative Christian Ministries, or New Creation Ministries, and devoted to the purpose of treating people with this type of addiction. So, Russell, as we've been talking about pornography a little bit, I raised the question: not everybody who has a need for belonging or connection gets into pornography.
Right.
Some do. But there are a lot of people who have that same need, that same desire for belonging, connection, and pornography is not even an issue whatsoever. Mm-hmm. What makes the difference?
Well, I think there are so many variables: our personalities, our temperaments, the experiences we have growing up, our, the family soup. We're
just like you when you talk about your upbringing.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes you vulnerable, maybe.
Right. Abuse is a factor in the lives of many people who struggle with pornography addiction. There seems to be a correlation somewhere between 70-80% of people who deal with pornography problems or sexual addictions oftentimes have experienced abuse, oftentimes sexual abuse. So that's a factor. But the issue is that most of us deal with some type of addiction. If it's not sexual addiction, sometimes it's substance abuse. It can be food addictions, workaholism, people addictions, approval addictions. The author Gerald May, in his book Addiction and Grace, says to be alive is to be addicted.
I see.
When I first read that, I thought, well, that's kind of an extreme statement. But just as I've learned about myself and worked with people over the years, I realize it's true. It's what the Bible calls the flesh. Mm-hmm. So the one person, and he made a joke in that book, he said, it's like in a treatment center, you've got alcoholics on both sides of the hall, and the ones who drink beer are making fun of the ones who drink wine and say, well, at least we're not winos. And the winos are saying, well, at least we're not addicted to Coors and Miller Lite. But of course, they're both alcoholics.
They're both addicted.
Yeah.
Both.
And that's the joke on most of society. Even us Christians, we struggle with a high incidence of addictive behavior.
Yes, we do.
But maybe it's more socially acceptable, perhaps. But that doesn't mean we're healthy.
Yeah, you almost wonder if there's anybody out there that is not addicted to something.
Well, to some degree. There are socially acceptable addictions. Workaholism is a big one for us.
Yes, it is.
Because you get a lot of rewards for that one. But that'll kill you. It'll end your marriage.
There's a quote that is very powerful to me, that pornography is the only addiction from which you do not die. Alcoholism, you die. Workaholism, you die. Overeating, you die. And on down the list of the main 12 addictions. If you look at the main 12 ones, they all lead to death in some form, or can lead to death, except for pornography. It never leads to death. Interesting way of looking at it, isn't it?
Well, I've certainly seen it lead to death and a lot of things close to death in the lives of my clients. I mean, I could tell you stories. They don't happen every day to people, but I've seen people attempt suicide, or I've experienced. I mean, 2 of my clients actually got into a shootout in my office, and they had a lot of other issues going on. But when you touch on sexuality and the struggle and the loneliness and the human angst, you're touching on some deep core human issues.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it that is the driving factor that just keeps it going? Once you get into it, you might stumble into it like you talked about. It might just be you're surfing the internet and all of a sudden you get some kind of exposure to a pornographic image, and before you know it, you're into it. Now you know you're into it. I mean, now at some point you know that you're doing something that's not right. You know you're doing something that's not good for you. You know you're doing something that's not desirable. At some point you realize that. When is that point?
Well, it might
does that come pretty quickly, or does that take a long time for that to come?
It might be the first or second exposure, but the problem is that somebody, for instance, let's paint a picture of a 9-year-old boy who stumbles onto porn, which, by the way, that's the average age of exposure now in our culture.
Right, I was going to say
internet
10,
porn.
right? Mm-hmm.
It's 9, and that's slowly creeping down to 7.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually happens when a boy is doing homework or researching something for a school project. And when a
So
boy
let me
sees
interrupt
that,
you there. Then what you're already saying to parents out there is that if you have a 9-year-old kid or thereabouts, you better put on the glasses of potential pornography, because that kid could be exposed. So you better start monitoring.
Well, I'll just say something that might seem like a very bold statement, but if you have children, it's not a question of your children might be exposed. They will be exposed. The question is not if. The question is when, and will you prepare them in advance, and will you be able to walk them through that? That's the world we live in now.
Mm-hmm.
And for somebody who's exposed to that, it's a shock, it's something of a trauma, but it also, it triggers their sexuality. And like a boy who sees, a grown woman in a pornographic act, he knows his conscience is alarmed, but, his lizard brain, if you will, is also triggered. And he can't take his eyes off of it. And so it's this real ambivalence. Like, part of him says, don't look at this is wrong. And another part of him says, but I want to, I like this is creating explosions in my whole body. And he's split within himself.
Yeah.
And he knows he can't tell dad or mom because he feels like he's a bad boy, that he's even looked at it, and they will reject him, even though they've never maybe done anything to indicate that to him.
Yeah. But there's somehow kind of a sense that you're into something wrong.
Right.
And there's a guilt kind of a sense there, I
Very
guess,
much.
or uncomfortableness or shame or whatever the word might be.
And this is not just, those who are raised in Christian homes. This is across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very similar to what happens to a sexual abuse victim. When they're sexually abused, they feel like they did something wrong when
That's right. That's
they
common.
didn't do it at all.
Yeah.
It was their abuser that was wrong.
That's right.
So it's very complex.
Yeah. But so, again, an abuser is kind of not the pornographic image. The abuser is really the people who put that on
Really,
the internet and make that available.
It's
to the public.
insidious.
It's huge. It's billions of dollar industry.
Oh, it's staggering. And the pornography industry is going after our children because they need new clients. It's like the cigarette industry, and they're actually using metrics online that actually target prepubescent girls and boys, and it's very successful. It's just I can't even describe how evil a system it is.
So we teach our kids to surf the net. We think that's good. We think they're seeking information, they're doing a school project, getting information, they're going to the internet in various forms and styles, and all of a sudden this thing pops up. How does that happen? How does a pop-up all of a sudden happen? What's the way that comes into a kid's life?
Well, there are pornography companies that have even created links to porn sites through words like Mickey Mouse, Donald
So if I
Duck.
type in Mickey Mouse, it's possible, not necessarily, but it's possible that a pop-up could occur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what are some of the other key words that...
Well, obviously, if you type in sex or boobs or things like that, that's going to happen. And a lot of kids, they'll be talking with someone at school and say, hey, type in this word, or look what I found on my phone.
I've seen that. I've taught kids told me that.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the phone is
That's
the
right.
place where most kids are accessing porn. It's not the computer anymore. It's their smartphones, which kids are saying, Daddy, Mommy, I need a phone. All the other kids have one. And that's the primary digital instrument that people are finding pornography on these days.
Yeah. But then a kid finds that, it pops up, and somehow many kids just, that's the end of it. They're done. I mean, they don't want anything to do with that, right?
Well, I wish it was that way.
Yeah.
It's more like, oh my gosh, I've seen this. I can't unsee this anymore. And I know that was wrong, but boy, I want to see it again. Because it just starts to work on them. We underestimate the power of early sexualization. And parents are sadly very naive, and they say, well, if my son or daughter saw that, they would turn away.
Well, that is what you'd hope for, I guess, or think.
But that's not really proactive parenting. Parents
No,
really need
no,
to
it's
come to
not.
their children and say, son, daughter, you are going to see this at some point. So let's talk about how to respond when you do. Don't be afraid to come to daddy and mommy. Don't be afraid to tell me what you saw. You're not going to be punished. Doesn't mean you're bad. Even if you like it, doesn't mean you're bad. It means it's stirred up normal feelings in you. So let's be ready when that occurs. In fact, it might have already happened. That's the spirit parents have to approach this in. If they don't, then they're already setting their children up for shame and guilt.
That's very good advice for parents. That's that's well said. It's being proactive.
That's right.
And I guess it's just, you hate to think this way as a parent, that your kid will get into pornography. But it's really the other idea, that the pornography will come to him.
Precisely.
And then we're at a critical moment.
Yeah.
So if the kid doesn't have an alternative way of handling that, or a good way of handling that,
right,
addiction can begin the process.
Yeah.
You spoke about addiction, though, speaking 2 or 3 or 4 exposures. I mean, it's a pretty powerful addiction, apparently, that can come on in a real immediate and direct way.
Well, and again, the porn industry knows exactly what it's doing. I mean, they will even take the most popular porn searches by adults, and they will take those particular searches, and then they will basically make those the porn sites that children find when they do their searches. So if you can imagine the most obscene, profane internet porn that maybe adult males are seeking out around the world, the porn companies will take those and then make those the very porn sites that 9 and 10-year-olds find on their first exposure.
Really?
So whether it's step parents or incest or you name it, the most bizarre, obscene images. So it's like a double trauma. Not only are they seeing sex, they're seeing the most bizarre, weird types of sex, and that kind of stuff gets under your skin. And it's like a car wreck. You're driving by, and it's horrific, but you can't stop looking.
Is the main target of the pornography industry children? Or I'll call them young adults, I mean teenage kids. Or is the real main target older men?
Well, I mean, the porn industry is targeting everybody, but
I'm
obviously
sure.
if they can keep targeting children, then that guarantees that they'll have a consumer base into the next generation.
On into the life, into the future.
They'll always have customers. And they're defenseless. They don't know how to defend themselves, and they're depending on the naivety of parents.
Well, parents are naive.
They are.
You know, it's a topic that we don't like to talk about. A topic we don't like to look at. You know, it's a topic we don't like to even consider that would enter our home or would enter the life of our kids. I guess that's denial.
Right.
I guess whether you've been speaking, we are very prone to deny that something is very powerful coming into the life of your kid and you don't know about it, you don't want to know about it. What does a parent do?
Well, we have to pull our head out of the sand first. a lot of us parents, we haven't really faced our own issues around sexuality.
Well,
we have sexual brokenness, we have secrets, we have areas where we struggle. We haven't really looked at them, so why would we want to talk with our kids about that?
that's true.
So we've got to face our own brokenness. We've got to let Jesus do a work in our
How
lives.
do we do that?
Well,
How does an adult, how does a mother, how does a father, kind of just face the fact that, they may have some sensitivities in this area themselves. They might have come from a history of abuse, as you say.
right.
So you got to start with mom and dad.
It's really what the Bible calls walking in the light. I can't say that I'm following Jesus Christ if I'm submitting every area of my life to Him except my sexuality. I don't, I'll submit my prayer life, I'll read my Bible, I'll tithe, I'll go to church, I'll go to a short-term mission, but He's not coming into my bedroom. He's not going to impact how I make love to my wife. He's not going to have any say whatsoever over what I look at on the computer, what movies I watch, what books I read. That's my own private domain, and that's the way most Christians operate.
I see. Maybe a lot of people operate that way.
Right.
They think that they can stave off all kinds of evil, if you will, or unpleasantness, except for this. It's almost like they want to keep it to themselves. They want to keep a little domain that's their own, it's control.
Well, and the sad thing is, it's because a lot of us believe that God is withholding from us. Just like the serpent told Adam and Eve, God knows that if you eat of the fruit, you'll be as God. And so he convinced them that God was holding out of them, and we're still swallowing that lie. The reality is God wants us to have the most incredible, mind-blowing sex imaginable, but that only happens when you cultivate that with one person, and then universes open up for you with that one person. But Satan has convinced us that that's not possible, that that's not even feasible in marriage.
Sure.
So we've bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. Take a little different tack on this thing in terms of the legal part of it. A little while ago, we spoke about the line there between adult pornography and child pornography, and obviously child pornography is illegal. Is that monitored? Are the police out there somehow monitoring me, monitoring you, monitoring every home, see what they're watching, or are they looking for certain websites that seem to be active?
Well,
how do they do that?
There is a lot of monitoring going on. The Justice Department monitors that. In fact, there are even sting operations underway where, in some cases, certain departments will actually create child porn sites, and then they'll just watch who monitors, who goes on the site, who downloads stuff. You might even say it's entrapment. But I've had clients who have ended up in prison because of situations exactly like that. So you are not really safe. You're not anonymous like you think when you go onto those sites. Another thing that I've seen happen is people who might go on one of those sites or just go investigate it. When they download an image or a video, they're also downloading files that they didn't ask for. And at that point, they become distributors of porn, and they didn't even know that that was happening.
So what is distribution of porn? That's a definitional issue. I mean, I have to take a piece of paper somehow and actually pass it to somebody? Is that distribution, or is it forwarding it on my email to somebody?
Well, I've had clients who, like I said, have downloaded certain porn images, and along with that download came pornographic images and the software to spread those online, almost like a virus, if you will. And they didn't even know that was happening.
That's what I'm wondering.
And the Justice Department said, well, we're arresting you not only for possession of child pornography, but for distribution. They said, I never did that. They said, well, look here. They said, oh, I didn't know that was happening. Well, a lot of things are going on that we don't know
So who
about.
does that get distributed to?
Sometimes it can be random. Sometimes, again, your computer can just be filled with other things that you didn't intend to download. To say that it's a Pandora's box is an understatement.
I guess I'm wondering is, if that were distributed through that system, does that go out to all the people on my email list, so to speak? Or in my system, am I putting them at risk?
Well, that is possible. I haven't heard of that happening, but it can be passed around to other pedophile sites. I mean, and again, some of the people I'm talking about are not pedophiles. Some of these are just average Christian guys who just, they started looking at adult porn, and then they started veering into, slightly below adult sites, and next thing you know, they've got Homeland Security pounding on the door saying, let us in, we want to confiscate your computers. Mm-hmm. It's scary stuff.
It is. So when you talk about somebody just walking into a trap, so to speak, they're out there receiving it, they're working on their computer, they're just doing normal, good old stuff, and all of a sudden this pop-up comes. What do you do? What's your first response?
You delete it as quickly as possible.
Just delete?
Yeah.
Is that all? It's just simple as that?
Well, and I would also recommend that families have some kind of filtering software, and better also to have accountability software, like Covenant Eyes is a good program.
Covenant Eyes.
There are others that...
What is that, covenanteyes.com or
yes,
something like that?
Yes, covenanteyes.com.
Mm-hmm.
And there are others similar that not only filter where you go, but, for instance, if you are a person who struggles in this regard, it will send a report to the person you designate, a spouse or an accountability partner, and let them know, on Saturday morning, 10 a.m., Joe went to sex.com and spent 5 minutes on that site. And so your accountability partner will call and say, okay, what's the deal with this? Why were you there? What was going on there? And it's documented. So in itself, it's a good motivator to not even go down that road, because you're going to be caught. But there are things we can do that we need to do, quite frankly, if we have wisdom.
I think the difference between the person who sees this regularly, periodically, every in his life, and they may, as you say, 5 minutes, and then they're out of that, as compared to the kid or the person who sees a pop-up for the very first time. And I guess really the word is delete. Turn right. That's temptation's corner, right? Get out of that and just delete. And it's as simple as just hitting the delete button?
Well, again, I'm not real computer savvy. I'm not a techno geek, but we have to treat this thing. In 1 Corinthians 6:18, Paul says, flee porneia is the Greek word. Our translations say sexual immorality, but it says flee. He says run from this thing. It's bigger than you. It's more powerful than you. It'll trick you. It'll deceive you. So whatever we have to do to run from this, we better do it.
So you're really looking at a very powerful addiction.
No question.
Do you think this is more powerful than alcoholism, marijuana addiction?
I do, because in that same scripture, Paul says something about sexual sin. He says, every other sin a man commits is outside his body, but he who sins sexually sins against his own body, which is an amazing statement, because he's basically saying, so you can be a heroin addict, you can be a meth addict, you can be an alcoholic, you can be a cutter. You don't sin against your body the way you do when you sin sexually. Sexual sin, unhealthy, destructive sexual behaviors wound and traumatize you, not just your skin, your bone, but your entire being at a level that is more profound than
I always think of it
thing.
like in a social addiction, in the sense that you're hurting yourself. That may be true, but you're hurting a lot of other people. I mean, there's no way to keep this private. No way to keep it to yourself. So when you get into a pornography addiction, I really think that you're now affecting a lot of other people.
Well, it does that, but for instance, even if we're not married, even if we don't solicit prostitutes or have affairs, this affects neurochemistry. It changes a person's brain tissue. It causes certain parts of the brain to atrophy and others to grow stronger that we don't want strong. And so it really does create havoc, not only neurochemically, but spiritually, emotionally. It keeps a person from growing and maturing into full adulthood. It really does damage at every level of the human being.
Where does the person get help? I mean, you know, all of a sudden you realize that now you're into over your head.
Right.
You're into this thing now, and it's happening again, and it's happening again, and you know, you're looking at now the early stages of addiction. Now, where do you turn if you really want to halt that?
You've got to talk to somebody. James 5:16 says, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other that you might be healed. So many people try to fix this on their own, or they pray.
Well, you want to keep it a private thing. You don't want to let anybody know you're looking at that.
Absolutely. I get it. I get it. But in AA, they have a saying, you are as sick as your secrets.
And that's pretty sick, by the way, often.
Yeah. So we got to find somebody trustworthy. Talk with your pastor, talk with, if there's a CR group at your church, or a redemption group, or even a 12-step group. It would be better for a Christian to join a secular 12-step group than to not do anything at all about this. A place where he can share in confidence and have people hold him accountable.
Now, you have a group.
We do.
You have a center that people from the world of pornography addiction can come and do this professionally. Meet with you, and I gather you have some other staff members as well.
Yes.
What's the deal? Tell us about that.
Well, at New Creation Ministries, we provide individual counseling for couples, for young people, and we have groups basically to help people work through these issues, to understand some of the root issues underneath, to not only make behavioral changes, but most importantly, to learn how to be relational, which is really the core issue. And so this process, for people who really undergo this process, it's anywhere from a 1 to a 5 year process, because we don't put Band-Aids on things. We help people really get to the core of what's going on. And we've seen Jesus transform people's lives.
Are people coming to counseling with you adults as compared to children or teenagers?
Well, most of the people we work with are adults, but our clients over the years have gotten younger and younger.
I think so.
Yeah. The transgender issue is becoming a bigger and bigger problem because that's becoming more prevalent in our society, and it's becoming encouraged and affirmed in our culture. So a lot of adolescents who tend to be a little shaky about their gender security and identity anyway are now being thrown into even more confusion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, our clients are getting younger, and we're seeing more and more females. Porn addiction is a problem among women. People don't know that.
I was going to have you talk about that for a moment because we think of it as a man thing.
Right. Well, I'll just say the main population I work with, among evangelical Christians, porn is an issue for about 60-70% of Christian men. But for Christian women, it's about 33% of Christian women struggle with this,
So
depending
about
on
half.
the ages.
About half, yeah.
Yeah. So this, and when I first started in this work years ago, those numbers were not that high, but the numbers are growing.
They're
and I
growing
suspect
now.
in 5 or 10 years they'll be greater.
Now, you've written a book,
Yes.
or a couple books perhaps. Tell us about them.
My first book was called Breaking Free, Understanding Sexual Addiction and the Healing Power of Jesus.
So it was all on addiction, all on pornography itself.
And it's
Breaking Free.
Breaking Free.
How would I get that book?
You can get it on Amazon.
I see.
It's published by InterVarsity Press. And my second book was called Relational Masks. And basically, I wrote Breaking Free for people struggling with sexual brokenness, men in particular. And Relational Masks I wrote for everyone else. So, but they talk about addictive processes and the way we run away from relationships and how to find our way back.
Book selling?
Yeah, Breaking Free.
Good. I hope they're selling because that means people are interested in doing something about this area of their life.
Yeah, Breaking Free is in about its 20th printing, I believe.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. What prompted that?
My own
Why'd you
frustration.
write that?
My own frustration. When I was working with clients years ago, and I would share some things with them that I was learning, they'd say, well, where can I find this information? I'd say, well, if you buy this book and you buy this book and this book and you put that information together, and I got so tired of saying that, it's like, I need to combine these insights and the things God has shown me, and it was born out of that.
Glad you wrote it?
Very much.
Give us a story. Who's been helped by either your counseling ministry, counseling there, or the book that and people read it and so on? You know of anybody that's really had their life changed?
Well, the good news is that's a long list. It's even hard for me to pick somebody, but we regularly see in our ministry, for lack of a better word, miracles on a weekly basis, because we get down to brass tacks in people's lives, and they look at the hard stuff, the difficult and painful stuff. But when we are willing to do that and invite Jesus into that, he touches us at those places. And those of us who let Jesus touch those places, we become the most radical Christ followers you can imagine.
So it's coming out of your private world, out of your
Very
secret
much.
world, making yourself known to somebody.
Exactly.
And then that's the process of starting a long journey. I gather it's a long pathway of recovery. That it doesn't happen in as you call it, within a year even.
Right.
I mean, we're looking at a lifestyle change. And we're looking at going back in your life and looking at the things that made you vulnerable to start with.
Right, because those vulnerabilities still exist.
That's right.
A lot of us, we like to say, well, the past is the past. It's behind me. I'm not going to dig up old bones. Well, the past really isn't behind
That's
us.
right.
It's in the present. And our ignorance of that doesn't help us.
That's right. What's your website? If somebody wanted to get a hold of your book or learn more about what you do, do you have a website?
Our website is ncmfresno.org.
NCM.
Right, for New Creation Ministries. NCM Fresno, which is where we're located, in Fresno, California. ncmfresno.org.
.org. So if they access that, what will they find? What's on your website?
They'll find some articles. They'll find information about various kinds of sexual addictions and brokenness. And even porn addiction is not what we specialize in. It's a part of it. But our main purpose, in fact, our mission statement is to care for individuals and marriages that are impacted by relational brokenness, leading them into personal healing. Parents, teach your children young and early about sexuality just as you would about Christ. Don't shy away from that subject because the world's coming after them hard and heavy. So prepare them.
Okay. I have a quote to end with. And I want you to comment about it, okay? As we look at the quote, and just kind of as a quote for the day, it's kind of a one that parents might just kind of keep in their mind. Play the man you are. Play the man you are. You know, and it's like a deck of cards. You got to play the hand that you've been dealt, okay? But here you got to play the man you are. What does that strike you as? What's the thought that comes to your mind?
To me, it has application for parents and the rest of us. To me, it means fathers. Be parent your children. Don't be weak and passive.
Good.
And mothers, love your sons, love your daughters. Don't just spend all your time on Facebook or watching Hallmark movies. They need to be loved and cared for and parented in a strong fashion.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would respond.
I think that's saying that I would have said something very similar to that.
Yeah.
You said it very well. You just play the man you are, the person you are.
Exactly.
Don't try to use methods and techniques and images and stuff out there to become somebody different, or to try to improve yourself in a different way, or make yourself in a different image.
Right.
Just be the person you are, and begin to feel comfortable and begin to learn how to relate to the world as that person.
Right.
And we are struck today with this issue of trying to become somebody we are not, somebody that we thought we should be or wish that we could be, or we're chasing all kinds of stars and heroes and rainbows and whatever. But, you know, the honest point is play the man you are.
Yeah,
play
absolutely.
the person you are. Hey, thanks for joining us today, Guy.
My pleasure.
That was a great conversation and very important topic,
Yeah.
you know, for all of us in the community. So see you next week. Thanks for joining us today. Bye for now.
The Green Gables Care Home is a 24-hour assisted living facility for the elderly located in Clovis, California, offering spacious private and semi-private rooms which are wheelchair approved, catering to the special person in your life who needs attention and wants to live in a loving home environment. The Green Gables Care Home has assisted living in secured homes for elderly with Alzheimer's, memory loss, and for your loved ones needing assistance with their activities of daily living. Call 559-297-9438 and visit greengablescarehome.com.
Sometimes good intentions hurt rather than help. For just $1.76 per meal, the Fresno Rescue Mission offers more than food. We offer hope. Please donate today.
Do you need a locksmith? Layman's Lock and Safe Service and Repair is available for you. 559-228-1805.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
I would love you to meet my son, Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010, and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
Choosing a Medicare plan can be difficult and frustrating. Susan Hatch can guide you through the Medicare maze and help find the right plan for you. Susan helps people understand the confusing and drastic changes that occur every year in Medicare. Susan will only recommend plans that will protect your assets and allow you to continue to see your personal doctor. As a 100% independent agent, Susan is not controlled by any particular insurance company to steer a person onto any one particular plan. Susan was awarded the #1 Medicare supplement agent in California. Look for Susan's Medicare question and answers every Monday in the Fresno Bee. Call Susan at 559-307-2287 and visit MedicareToday.net. Pompe disease is a progressive, multisystemic, debilitation, and often fatal muscular disease. The United Pompe Foundation was formed to assist those affected by Pompe with the medical costs and other expenses that they may not be able to fully cover through their insurance. Visit UnitedPompe.com to learn more and to make a tax-deductible contribution to the United Pompe Foundation.